Welcome in. I'm just waiting for a couple more to come in. Appreciate the like, man. You got any topics? Go ahead, drop them. We can talk about it. Welcome in. Welcome in. I know that press conference for Canelo happened today, but I didn't watch it. I just saw some headlines from some YouTube videos covering it. I guess Canelo wants 150 for David Benavidez. But again, I haven't even watched these videos and seen if any of this stuff's true, so I don't know. Maybe certain people could be trying to make Canelo look like the bad guy or whatnot. I don't know. And I don't really care. Munguio versus Canelo is not a fight that interests me. So I think I've expressed that before on this channel. It's not like I'll go out of my way to even stream it. I know it'll be available on YouTube night of or afterwards. So I'll be able to watch the fight whenever I want to. It's not a priority. Also saw that they did make Tim Tszyu and what's his name official Fundora again. I don't know if they're going to keep it pay per view. They shouldn't. That should be a free fight for people to just view. Even if they have to do something like have it on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? I think that would be better than putting that fight on pay per view. Unfortunately, and I saw where Terrence Crawford enacted his Super WBO status to be the mandatory for the winner. Hello, how you doing? You have a good night too. I saw where Crawford enacted his status to be the mandatory for the cost or Tim Tszyu Fundora winner. Um, we'll see what happens. I heard they're already trying to block that, so Crawford looks like he's still in purgatory, and people aren't trying to really help him out. Yeah, I heard that too, but I heard they're already blocking it, and that the who is it? What's their names, man? The WBC is trying to find a way to block that fight. But again, I'm gonna have to do more research on that. So we'll just see what happens. But it looks like they still playing the same type of games with Bud right now. Whether it's Fundor, whether it's Tim Tszyu, I know Bud can beat both. So the Tim Tszyu fight will definitely be a lot harder than Fundor, in my opinion. But Fundor just makes too many mistakes, and he comes forward. We talked about this in the past when we covered Terrence Crawford. Not too many fighters do that anymore. That's what Jeff Horn and so many others have tried. Even Sean Porter, a guy who's known from coming forward and being gung ho, throwing 800 punches, he didn't do that in their fight. So I know that a lot of fighters they don't like to take that approach with Bud anymore. And Fundor again, I know he'll get beat easily, but Tim Tszyu, I don't think he'll be as come forward as he wants to as well, but has that effect on people. So again, welcome in. You got topics? Go ahead, drop them. I kind of already gone over Canelo and um, Tim Tszyu and Biden enacting his Super WBO status for the mandatory. You guys got any topics? Go ahead and drop them. But yeah, I see that the Canelo thing's already stirring up controversy again. I haven't watched any of the videos on that. Um, Again, I've seen where he wants like 150 to fight Benavidez. He also denies that an offer was ever made to him. I don't see any reason why David Benavidez would have lied about the details that he came out with. So, it's neither here nor there. Munguia versus Canelo is a fight. And again, I'll express it. which I already have. I'm not interested in that fight, especially when I see that Mangria is already playing the "Thank you, Canelo, for giving me this opportunity" route. So I doubt there's any real rivalry there, and there's there's any real animosity or nothing like that. What's his name? He knows he's getting a payday. So, and I've said this plenty of times. Canelo makes sure he beats fighters at the negotiation table. You know what I'm saying? I don't see it being too competitive. I got a cough tonight. Welcome in. Drop any topics you want to talk about. We've been on live for 7 minutes now. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? Whatever interests you. If that's a fight you want to pay your money on, by all means. Um, Starting off from the stream, we kind of addressed it, but it's not a fight that I'm going to pay per view for. And I know the fight will be available to watch, by other means, so it's not really on my priority list. And I haven't watched any of the press conferences and things like that either. So I saw some clickbait titles from certain YouTubers. Yeah, he does. It's how fighters like him survive, in my opinion. That's going to hurt some people's, you know. See, but that's the thing, though. I read where Canelo's denying that there was ever an offer for Benavidez, and I don't see why Benavidez would come out and just make up a story with all his details. You know what I'm saying? He said he was going to get 5 million. Canelo gets to basically collect all the other money. And I saw another clickbait title. I don't know if it's real. I don't want to spread rumors, but Canelo wants 150 million for Benavidez, and you know, it is what it is, man. If, if there's a company that's willing to pay him that type of money, all power to him. Canelo's Canelo, man. I don't know what his deal is. I mean, he's also getting a little bit older too. He has children, things like that. And basically, this is the game of boxing today. It's changed drastically, and this is what fighters, this is what they do, and they know they have the power to do. Was it? I'm pretty sure it was. I mean, it's a fight no one's really asking for. I understand Munguia had a entertaining last outing, but do you really qualify for a Canelo Alvarez fight? You know what I'm saying? And he's still, for the most part, an unproven fighter, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Who has he really fought to really test himself? Uh, Callum Smith, or again at the end of his career. How you doing, bro? How you doing? If I go stop Canelo, this guy. Hey, welcome to the channel, man. I've talked to you a couple times. He wanted 200 million. See, that's what I'm saying. But I haven't really. Well, I mean, Ryder, what has he really done? He possibly had, beat Callum Smith, but what did Callum Smith do? He beat a end of his career punch drunk Endom, and who else did injure George Grooves again at the end of his career? They try to hype these guys up so quick before they're even proven, and even Caleb Plant. What did Caleb Plant do? You know what I'm saying? If he said that, that's crazy, man. I did see some headlines and clickbait titles with that, and again, as I was explaining earlier in the stream, like, I didn't even look into this stuff. If he did say that, that's pretty crazy. But his fights don't even come close to generating that type of money. There have been plenty of sources that confirm that. And again, you don't restructure someone's contract if they're good for that type of money. So that's all I can really say about the matter. Facts are facts. People can cry all they want. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, Canelo, he's Canelo. Well, if I had $1 billion, but you got to understand that that's not enough money for boxing. Supposedly, Eddie Hearn got $1 billion when they were trying to start up the zone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure Oscar got a pretty nice price as well. I don't know if $1 million's going to take it, but I would definitely try to set up a thing like UFC. You're not only going to have your main events, but you're going to have people on undercard that's going to build your next main event, those type of things. Whatever UFC is doing, that's what I would try to do. As far as fighter pay, again, it's got to make money and it's got to make sense. A lot of these fighters today, they ask for a lot of money. Uh, point being that Canelo's asking for 200 million for Benavidez, as you guys are saying in the comment section. So I mean, you guys, they don't even garner that much money. You're not even worth that paycheck. You're talking about Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao, which sold 5 million pay-per-view buys. Floyd's guaranteed purse was 100 million, and Manny's was like around, uh, 50 to 80 million. You understand? But that they knew they were good for that. Today these fighters they just want money. You know what I'm saying? And you don't even come close to garnering that. You're not even really a solid $30 million guaranteed fighter, to be honest with you. So it's just a different era, man. It's a different era. That people, again, you know, what would you do in that situation? I'm pretty sure I would take the money too, and go the easy route. To be quite honest with you, that's why you got to appreciate the guys who are willing to fight. The real tough fights. They're doing basically what is suicidal, you know. But I'm not going to sit here and say that these dudes, especially when you have children and you have families and mouths to feed and things like that, you know, who does fight for pride today? That's the boxing doesn't want you to fight for pride today and rivalry. It's all about fake it till you make it, put on some type of dumb show. You know what I'm saying? Make it a spectacle. Canelo's already walling out but he's been walling out. I remember when he finally started talking English and he started cursing and all that stuff. They did whatever they could to try to get him to sell a little bit more. But that's what it's all about today, and that's why you got guys like Jake Paul able to step on in because they provide that spectacle. Plus, they have their own audience. I think it's been hurting it, and the way the sanctioning bodies are set up, it's like a paid membership. You don't get the the luxuries and all the what's the word special treatment unless you play ball with them. So this is why a guy like Yodrum he had a very good relationship with the WBC. Even when busted for PEDs and coming off a loss in a long layoff, he was still able to get Canelo. But he had a very good relationship with the WBC. You know what I'm saying? Today it's all about politics, and it's kind of it's a members only type situation, but also it's pay to win. You get preferential treatment and things like that when you're investing and working with these sanctioning bodies. So a lot of politics in the background, you know what I'm saying? And they're there to make money too, and they incentivize everything today. If you are the what's it called, the franchise champion, I'm sure you pay more money for those type of privileges, and they're not going to knock you for ducking, but they're still monetizing, that aspect of it. You do get the duck, although you are kind of paying more money for these privileges. So it does hurt the sport. It does hurt the credibility of the sport, but has the sport cared about its own credibility and legitimacy in the past however many years, at least we can easily say over a decade, they don't care, man. They don't. So, you know, you can only do what you can at this point. And I'm coming out with more religious videos than I am boxing. You know what I'm saying? There ain't nothing going on in boxing. Heart transplants again, though. You got fighters even like Keith Thurman who don't even fight for years and they'll still. I don't know what it is. I know that in my lifetime I've had to work to pay and to even, get fed. But you have guys they'll duck out of fights like Manny Pacquiao and claim injury, and it's just a whole different era altogether that makes no sense to me today, guys. I'm sorry. Lomachenko, Canelo are in section bodies. Well, they also have a big dumb machine that invests in them as well. And the same situation with Canelo is the same situation with Lomachenko. You have to build these guys. You know what I'm saying? These are boardroom fighters, but Lomachenko, and both guys. You'll find images back in the day where Canelo actually took a loss. Now, I tried to research that. You know what I'm saying? He had an L on his record before he fought Floyd. Um, and we know the whole Vasquez thing and things like that that happened, but they're even going as far as trying to act like they never lost fights. And, they get to duck. He ducked Devin Haney, but Devin Haney was a guy that still took all the heat from the fan bases and internet for the most part. And it wasn't even like a proxy race war. Even black fight fans were attacking Devin Haney for some reason, And even when he beat Lomachenko, he gave Lomachenko opportunity, here, I'm going to defend my belt against you that, you know, I earned that, that title shot back in the day, but you went the franchise champion route. But, all that's kind of bit Lomachenko in the butt. And trying to promote guys like that has affected boxing and bit boxing in the butt as well. Again, you don't restructure who's supposed to be, this cash cow that everybody tried to say Canelo is today. You know what I'm saying? And then, I never saw Floyd have to get his contract restructured or any of that type of stuff, you know. And again, just because boxing is in a desperate kind of state right now. Canelo and fighters like that, they still get to take advantage of it and still get theirs, but it's hurting the sport as a whole, you know. But again, it's whoever pays that money is going to be their favorite. You need to ask yourself, why do certain guys, even a guy like Yildirim again that I was talking about earlier, get opportunities that a lot of guys will never get in their career? You know what I'm saying? There's definitely some preferential treatment, and again, we know that Lomachenko has like a big internet following, but that doesn't necessarily mean it translates into the real world where it's real tickets being sold. And if he's really, you know, putting butts in seats and things like that, and if the viewership is really translating as well, even when it's on free TV, again, and we know he's not a pay per view star, but same with Canelo. Is it really worth it? You're trying to invest around 80 million, you know. Um, is the gate covering your costs? Are you even receiving anything back on the back end? Are the investors receiving their money back? And I think oftentimes boxing is more worried about faking it till you make it instead of actually trying to make money. It's crazy today, man. You guys got anything? Go ahead, drop in the comment section. Otherwise, we can just talk about TMZ drama stuff that we're seeing. I know Stevenson is back on Twitter, but again, that's stuff I really don't like to cover. You know, that's a tough fight because both of those styles, they kind of counteract each other. What I like about Bivol is he's a guy, he's not there to entertain, he's not there to look good. You understand? He's going to do whatever is necessary, just to win. It's not about looking good or showboating or nothing like that. He has a very meek, humble style. Bivol, again, a very good technician, very underrated technician. Um, with his jab, what I saw in his last fight versus Calm Smith, to me, that was just beautiful boxing. He's not the most gifted athletically guy, but he makes up for it even at in old age as a hard worker, and he's still a student of the game. But that jab was unbelievable that he was deploying on what's his name, dude. And even with short distance from the guy's face, we're talking about maybe his hands being a foot away from Calm Smith's head. He was still able to land with, power and things like that. Um, but again, this is the hurt business, and you have boxing today where guys are trying to throw 1,000 punches a fight. Bivol, again, he's very economical and accurate with his combinations and things like that. But is he going to be hurting Beater Bev? Is he going to make Beater Bev not, you know, is that going to cause him to shy away and things like that? We saw this versus Bostic when he fought Bostic back in the day. Bostic was landing some beautiful combinations and he was getting credit just for output. But Beater Bev was landing the actual impactful, hurtful shots and causing damage to that guy. You know what I'm saying? I think it's going to be a very similar situation in this fight, but I think Peter Bev will have the edge, but um, Bivol, he's the perfect style to beat Better Bev. So I think it's going to be a close fight, and we'll just see who prevails. I think your smart money would be on Arthur Beater Bev, but again, I think Bivol has shown people a lot of times, and he was a cherry pick on wrong for Canelo that he can overcome. His resume and everything is very highly underrated. It is a tough fight. I think it's going to be close and down to the wire. But I think this being the hurt business and Beater Bev being one of those type of old school fighters, it's going to give him the edge and going to give him the victory as well. If I were betting my money, I'd put on Arthur. But Bivol, again, he has a perfect style to beat Beater Bev. So, I don't know what other fights are going on right now, to be honest with you. I barely pay attention to boxing. In fact, Beater Bev, that was like one of the last fights I watched. I was actually entertained when I watched that. It was just his spacing and everything. It was mastery, in my opinion. I was highly impressed with it. And the jab alone, even from short distance, landing with authority. So if he's able to employ that on Bivol again, Bivol has good defense. So, and he's got a little bit higher boxing IQ than a guy like Colin Smith and things like that. So, again, but Bivol, he's definitely up there as one of the fighters that I'm entertained by the most when I do actually decide to watch the sport of boxing. You know, I don't know. I heard something where they might be able to block that fight being made, and you are dealing with the PBC. The PBC seems to be very dead set with matchups that they want to make, even if it's dumb matchups like Keith Thurman versus Tim Tszyu again, a fight that nobody was asking for, nor did it ever enter anyone's mind as being a possibility. So I still think they're still playing games, and they're going to try to do whatever they can, which is what they've always been doing. To kind of blackball Terrence Crawford, but we'll see. I don't hold my breath anymore, though. I get tired of these long breaks, when waiting for a Bud fight to occur. You know what I'm saying? But as I stated earlier, I think Bud will definitely be able to. He'll have a tougher time with Tim Tszyu. A guy like Fundora. We talked about the styles before. I've even covered this in my film studies. A lot of fighters they're not aggressive versus Bud anymore. We know that Fundora doesn't have a choice for that matter, and he'll come forward and try to basically, like Errol Spence, throw a lot of volume punches and things like that, whether they're impactful or not. Kasazu, I actually see him a little bit more conscious or cautious when he approaches Bud, because we know he likes to come forward and be aggressive as well. But against Bud, he seems to be able to stop that. And Errol Spence said he was going to bring it, and Sean Porter, everyone expected he was going to bring it too. But these guys kind of become passive aggressive when they face a guy like Bud, and I see no different. Yeah, he did beat Jeff Horn, but Jeff Horn again. Even guys like Brooke, who were trying to say that Crawford's too small, and I fought GGG and this guy. Why didn't you use your size against him? You were the counter puncher in that fight. You were waiting on Bud to make mistakes and try to counter him, and Bud walked forward on him. And a lot of these guys, they've been trying to play, El Matador and counterpunch against Bud. Is that the guy he's sparring? Is that who you're talking about? Mean Machine is underrated, and I stated this before. I always wanted him to see him fight guys like Errol Spence, and it's the same with guys like Stanionis. It would be great to see a bunch of these type of fighters get opportunities. And boxing, again, is just shooting itself in the foot for no reason. Yeah, I agree because he's just going to come forward, throw non-impactful volume punching, unconscious type punching. He's going to get clipped. Uh, it's not too hard to see that. Who are you talking about? Me Machine? Well, he lost to the same guy Earl Spence lost to in the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? He was Olympian as well. It's popularity contest today. It's not merit anymore. You know what I'm saying? This is why a guy like Munguia can get an opportunity to fight a Canelo than Benavidez, even though the Benavidez fight would make more money. I believe so too. I stated this in a lot of my film studies and things leading up, and I made these remarks specifically. I said that these guys aren't even going to do what a Mean Machine did to Bud, and it ended up holding true. You know what I'm saying? So, what can you say at this point? You know, I remember all the shit I took back in. I just curse. I remember all the stuff I took back in the day from those fans when I was getting trolled constantly every day. So, but you know, those dudes, they always disappeared. You know what I'm saying? They never came back. You know, and I would try to provoke them. You know, what do you have to say now? But they did a disappearing act. That's all right. I've seen that happen before as well back in the day. It's just a system that PBC has employed. I think it pacifies a lot of fighters. I think it's does they don't know how to grow talent. You know, that's one thing I can give Top Rank. You know, and growing talent, you actually got to, it's like when you're raising your children, you can't pacify them all the time. You got to let them go out and fail. You got to let them learn how to develop those type of problem solving skills. But they're always thrown in showcase fights, is what I call them, fights that they're supposed to win. And we're seeing this with a lot of people now. I stated this in my last stream. That's a pretty easy one. They did disappear, bro. Like they did. They know they couldn't say nothing. But Pitbull should win. You understand? But I did say this: Rolly, he's what you call a slugger, and sluggers they get a lot of strikeouts, do they not? So, you know, one of these days he may connect when he throws these Hail Mary hard punches that he likes to throw. And Pitbull Cruz, he does the same thing. He'll rush in and just start throwing punches. You know, but your safe money is on Cruz. You know what I'm saying? But it would not shock me if he gets caught with a big punch trying to come in all wild and just throwing his, you know, wide winging shots and things like that. But he definitely is a favorite, and you know, it is what it is. I mean, they were doing anything they could. I think they even used one-legged Benavidez, and I said, you guys, you know what I'm saying? You ain't even gonna do what a meme machine did, and it turns out that it was even far worse than what I predicted. You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't even do what a one-legged Benavidez did. You know what I'm saying? That's what Sean Porter and Errol Spence. So it makes you think. You know, when they're hyping up these guys today, is this the truth? And that's when you got to do your research and you got to observe and just, you know, not listen to all the hubbub. Well, the thing is, he was buzzed off the shot. I did a video on this back in the day, but when I was going through family court and stuff like that, and I curse a lot in my videos, and I was very crazy back in the day, I did end up deleting a lot of my boxing content. But I even showed it in slow motion how Mean Machine's left arm slipped under Crawford's right, and he actually shoved him down. You know what I'm saying? But he was hurt from the shot. I was not trying to give Crawford any excuses whatsoever. He was hurt by that punch. And Mean Machine is a very hard puncher. Another thing people don't understand, Mean Machine was trained, had around a 3 to 4 month training camp. He knew he was getting Crawford built long before it was announced to the public. And when I do my research on these fights and when I do decide to do film studies, I look at all these type of details. And I'm looking at months before the fight even happened. Mean Machine was already in training camp. And he was already preparing for Terrence Crawford. And he was even telling people, like, watch, I'm going to show you guys he's not who you guys think he is. You know, and he winked to the camera and he was in training camp that whole time. So this was a very hungry dude that really wanted to go out there and win. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, his arm, it shoved him. And I did it in slow motion. I don't care to even try to recreate that sequence. It doesn't matter anyways, especially to the haters. They're going to say what they're going to say anyways. You know, I'm getting to the point now where I feel like I don't need to defend myself anymore, and I don't even care for it. I, it's just Observation, man, it has nothing really to do with being right. I just try to tell people what I think is most likely going to occur, and you guys don't see it, but I do. I spend a lot of time researching every little aspect that I can. You know what I'm saying? If I can find clips from however many years back, again when we watch the fights, I try to always spot tendencies and patterns and things like that. A lot of hours are put into it before you guys get to see like what conclusions that I come to. Not even a boxing profit, not at all. It's really just observation. That's all it is. I'll tell you this though, my dad used to take me to the dog park, and I don't know what it was, man. Uh, you know, a lot of these people that go to the dog park, it always amazed me how they were able to accurately predict what dog was going to win. But again, they spend a lot of time at the dog park, obviously, and they learned the tendencies and the patterns of the dogs and who was going to win the race. And I just thought it was funny. And here I am today, basically doing the same thing. If you put in the work, it's nothing crazy. It's just observation, and you get to see what these people do, and then it's just from there. It's really not that crazy at all. It's just hard work, man. Just like everything else, you do something, enough times, you're gonna, it's just putting in the work, practice. I got to see these guys fight, and I got to see them fight real threats. What I do like about Stadionis, who was that one guy that he fought? Um, Dang it, I forgot the name. I think it was another Eastern European fighter. That dude could punch hard, and he was actually a legit threat. And we saw Stanionis deal with adversity, and he still was able to push forward and claim victory in that fight. Although it was a very hard fought battle. Until I see guys do that type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? You can tell me Lomachenko is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's the next Ali, and it's the same with everybody. Butayev was a very hard puncher. He was landing some very hard body shots on Stanionis. And I know he even buzzed and phased Stanionis at certain points in that fight, but Stanionis pulled it together. And like I said, he didn't quit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, when I see those type of things, that's when I really know who you are. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I can really say, what type of person you are. And I saw Stanionis put on his work boots and pick up his lunch pail and continue put on his hard hat and continue to go in there and work. And that's what I liked about him. And they didn't throw him in there with some guy he's supposed to be. Butayev did not lay down until Stanionis made him lay down. It reminded me a lot like Timothy Bradley back in the day. Timothy Bradley was just like the little engine that could. And I kind of got that kind of glimpse when I saw Stanionis in that Butayev fight. So, um, again, it's kind of sad that a lot of these guys are not allowed to fight and get opportunities that other fighters are. But again, until I see these type of fighters in those type of situations, again, I don't know what to say. Everybody looks flashy and good today. You know what I'm saying? Um, and people, they're going to say this is the next whoever, this is the next Floyd, this is the next whoever. Again, until I see you in those type of situations, I don't know what to think before I make those kind of judgments. Do you have a channel, Balash? Did I subscribe to it? Hey, how you doing? Judah Rise. Welcome to the live. You know, nothing crazy going on. I'm out here doing parlor tricks and doing flips and all that with sound effects. We'll get there maybe one day, but it's just old school, boxing chat. All right. I think I subscribed to it. I'm not sure though. Do you play video games? I think I did subscribe to it. I'm not sure. Think you I don't know. Maybe you created a new channel. I know I subscribed to a few people. Well, I'll subscribe if I'm not subscribed to it, man, so I can check out content. What I think about Bud, I mean, I he's a guy. He was born in 1987, so I know that this generation it's kind of regressing as we're going further and further. And some of you may get offended by that, but it is the truth. And I know he just has some old school qualities. Plus, his mom, and it's not even a gender thing. His mom gave him tough love, and I think that's what gives him such a considerable edge over guys like Errol Spence and guys that you know did not grow up with that type of tough love. And you can just tell in certain guys. But he carries that old school mindset like a Beater Bev. Those guys, they go out there to, it's the hurt business for them. These other guys that come out there, they throw like a thousand punches a fight and don't even get knockouts. You know what I'm saying? Bud's just an old school dude, works hard, plays hard, family man. He's done his dirt back in the day, but you got to look at his upbringing, what type of area he came from, things like that. And like I said, when your mom's even paying people to beat you up, that's going to produce some pretty good results. Roy Jones, we saw something similar. His father was a psycho, tough love. Probably never commended Roy Jones. Probably never told him that he was proud of him, and it produces some pretty crazy results. Again, you know, and but he was kind of somewhat in a similar position as far as the relationship he had with his mom. She was very tough on him. You know, And again, that type of stuff, although society looks down on that type of stuff today, I think it's actually more helpful for an individual at the end of the day. But it's a double-edged sword with everything today, every approach. It can have its pros and its cons. Some people are just not built for that type of stuff, and it'll actually cause trauma to them. But Bud, especially when he gets mad, dude, he turns psycho and things like that. But at the same time, he's a hothead. And you hear about this when he was a kid, how he always tried to start fights and things like that as well. You know what I'm saying? So there's always a pros and cons to basically everything. Double-edged sword. Is that new boxing game that came out? Is that out yet? I got rid of my PS5, so I don't even play video games anymore. I don't know. I know they're coming out with the new PS5, whatever it is, the one that's more upgraded. I might get cop one of those, but you know, that's what I'm saying, that competitive edge. And even before the Porter fight, when we covered all bases as far as styles matchup, we went to the mentality as our last video, and I told people that was going to be an X factor, Bud's competitive nature when it sets in. I mean, it's on video, it's still on my channel. I don't have to sit here and toot my own horn. It's just observation, like I said. So it's out. If it's any good, I might get me a PS5. I don't know. Because I used to play Fight Night back in the day. Yeah, I think he could have got the earlier KO as well. I still made a profit on that fight, and I had some very cool people that came to this channel. They were giving me money too because they were claiming that they were thanking me for how much money they made on their bets. But I did have money covering early rounds, and I think he definitely could have got him out of there. I don't know if he's top five ever, man. I can't go that far. I really can't. You know what I'm saying? I like Crawford. He's my favorite fighter in this era. But again, when you're trying to compare eras, it's a whole different ballgame. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the old school fighters, they don't get enough credit. These guys are fighting like, at least twice a month. A lot of them, Sugar Ray Robinson back in the day, what was it? He didn't lose to his 147th fight, and again, he was highly outgained. I don't know if you can compare those fighters today with fighters back then. I mean, I'll put him in maybe around top 20, top 30. You know what I'm saying? I'll put him before guys like Floyd Mayweather and Oscar, who are around the 50 mark. You know what I'm saying? I think he'll get to deserve that nod. But again, I can't put him anywhere near the top 20 from what I've seen thus far. It is, but also, you know, back in the day, you were undisputed just for one belt. You know what I'm saying? That's cool that you managed to get all four belts, but you know, that's kind of like a padded stat. You know what I'm saying? Uh, there's so many arguments for so many people. You know, I mean, you got to have Sugar Ray Robinson up there again, a guy who goes 147 before he takes his first L. Um, they were even ducking him when he finally became a pro. It took him a while to get his first title shot. I think that was around 50 or 60 fights. You know what I'm saying? That's like an argument again. It's like today, if you're trying to argue who's pound for pound number one, everyone's going to have their own argument. But when I look at the skills and I look at the killer instinct and those type of things, Sugar Ray definitely is going to be like one or two. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else, they can kind of fall underneath that. But there's a lot of fighters that I'm even learning about today, guys who, have done some miraculous things that people just don't talk about. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I mean, Sugar Ray Robinson was even killing people in the ring, having dreams about killing them, then killing them. You know what I'm saying? And he's even trying to stop the fight. Like, listen, dude, let's cancel this fight. I had a dream I was going to kill you, and no, let's go through with it. Ends up killing him. You know what I'm saying? You just, man, dude. Just when it comes to things like that, man. And those guys were tough back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Their training today is harder than a lot of these dudes' fights. Yeah, they did, especially when it comes to inside fighting, taking risks, and they hurt each other. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing nice about those old school fighters, man. They're just like little rabid dogs. It was pretty nice. It was pretty nice. And I saw during the media workout how he was standing on his jab more, making it more stiff. We even called that out before the fight. I'm pretty sure you had to do something, and I bet you that cocaine back in the day was like real good cocaine. They probably didn't cut it as much. So, those guys were beasts and monsters back in the day, man. Yeah, they let them fight, but they had far better skills as far as the inside fighting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to explain it, but inside fighting is a lost art today. Most people fight mid range to outside today, and again, they throw a bunch of volume punching, but it's a lot of non-impactful type punching where they're just trying to win rounds off of volume and output. You know what I'm saying? But again, like people were claiming that Spence is such this great inside fighter. They were telling me about his pins and all this other stuff. And I'm like, bro, this man don't even accurately land on people, man. You throw 1,000 punches, you don't even get knockdowns and knockouts anymore. You know? Yeah, Caleb Plant's a big example of that. He's a guy, again, during his media workout versus Canelo, he got tired, and a lot of people didn't even catch that. The dude was already tired in the media workout. You know what I'm saying? And that's where you're at least trying to fool people. But you're right about that, man. Yeah, James Tony was. He was. But it's definitely a lost art today. Well, everybody has an ego today, and it's just like access media today. You can't talk bad or criticize the company that's allowing you into their event, or you're not going to have a job and you're not going to be able to put food on your table. So when your fighter, like let's just use Errol Spence and Derek James. The drinking problem was known for years, guys, before it was even addressed by anybody. You understand? And I'm sure Derek James at some point tried to tell him you can't be doing that, but I'm pretty sure Spence checked him, you know, and Derek James just learned how to be quiet and sit there on the pads, let's do the same pad routine. You know what I'm saying? You're not really teaching, Spence, and I've said this plenty of times, a matchmaker probably deserves more credit than a guy like Derek James, but I also understand Derek James' situation. Uh, I haven't heard anything about it. It's Mike Tyson and Jake Paul going to fight. That's crazy. Again, I've heard about the negotiation tactics that Jake Paul does. It's kind of scripted and things like that. So we'll just see how it plays out. I mean, if Jake Paul knocks out Mike Tyson, man, that's crazy. When you look at Hearns and fighters like that, they were fast, dude. They were fast, dude. And they put a lot into their punches, dude. It was crazy. Far more intensity than what you see today. Guys, I'll bring up Caleb Plant again. You're trying to be a technician and look pretty. You know what I'm saying? You know, these guys, they're the high intensity and everything else of what they did. It's crazy, you know? He is 57, man. And it's easier for old men to get knocked out. He is a gimmick. And boxing's a gimmick today. That's why Jake Paul's able to infiltrate it. That's all boxing is today is a gimmick. Yeah, Julian Jackson was a killer. Terry Norris was one of my favorite fighters too, and that was a guy that used to knock people out, man. He was accurate too, especially when he was around 135, man. Those punches had great effect. He had a nice KO ratio in the lower weights. He was pretty good. I mean, I can't. Floyd Mayweather's Floyd Mayweather. He was a very entertaining fighter as well, and again, he could catch guys in the exchange, things like that. So I know that guys like Canelo and people like that, they wouldn't be able to handle guys like that, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've gotten into arguments with this about people, but it's just going to be what your preference is. So, but the high intensity, the energy, and what they brought, you know what I'm saying? Um, it's just insane. Marvin Hagler was a guy that also amazed me as well too. Like just with his intensity, like that guy was a psychopath, man. When he fought Hearns, man, and when he just came out, lunged him, and he was, he could switch hit and everything too. He's a complete fighter, but also as far as trying to attack and hurt your opponent, dude. But the way he came out on Hearns, dude, I was just like shocked. Like, man, you got to be kidding me. And he went in for the kill. Yeah, yeah. Kenny Norton, is that who you're talking about? Yeah, I saw that too, man. I saw that. Thank you, Canelo, for giving me this opportunity. You know, that's what I'm trying to tell people, man. Boxing's a gimmick today, dude. You're doing that Jamel Charlo stuff, man. You know, there was rivalry and there was animosity. They saw it as life and death because literally it could have been. They know they could have got. You know what I'm saying? Today, I've mentioned this so many times. A lot of these fights look like these fighters be having silent agreements. And you're seeing dudes lay down, and now I'm seeing Munguia thinking Canelo Alvarez. You know what I'm saying? Before the fight, like, what is this stuff? Yeah, these fighters, they don't have animosity. It's not really rivalry. There's no pride. He was. He was another guy that kind of got, screwed around. And when he was finally given his opportunity, he made some pretty nice paydays. But also, he got, I think it was Pepsi. He got some pretty good endorsement deals too, and he was highly beloved in Italy. So he ended up moving over there because those people they loved him, and you know, Marvin Hagler. For me, it feels that way, but you could say that I'm an old senile fan. It is to some people. Listen, there are people today. Takeshi 6ix9ine is their Tupac. You know what I'm saying? And today, you got people that really love today's state of boxing. So, what can I say? I'm just old and senile at this point. That fight was kind of pathetic on both guys' parts, GGG and Canelo. That's the name of the game today, man. You think Keith Thurman could have lasted in any other era? You know what I'm saying? His gimmicks would have only gotten him so far. But people, they like to hear him speak and that type of stuff, and they like that he's a hippie that, smokes weed and is into spirituality. I think, well, Canelo's still a bigger star, if, and I don't even like using that word. You know what I'm saying? Than Crawford, but fanboys, they like to preserve their fighters. They don't, they find excuses on why these guys are allowed to duck and things like that. So it is what it is. They have an investment in these fighters today, and they think that if they identify with these fighters, it means something for them when it doesn't. We've seen this phenomenon with everybody, every kind of fight fan. Well, I noticed this with the Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd fight when it took like 5 or 6 years to be built. Manny was at the point where his fights weren't doing that well anymore. So now, they had no choice but to fight Floyd at that point. And that's what kind of allowed that fight to be made. But while they were still successful fighting guys like Cotto and everybody else, you know, they were definitely milking the clock. You know what I'm saying? And it was the same thing with Spence. Your Danny Garcia fights, your Ugas fights aren't doing nothing, buddy. So we got to start making some real money here. Who would know? Because you saw what happened to Timothy Bradley, and I know a lot of people feel like he didn't win that fight or whatever else. Although Manny threw very low output and things like that. Who knows what would have happened? It didn't work out for Timothy Bradley though. But it could have helped Crawford's career, but things worked out the way they did for a reason. I'm not sold on Javante Davis, man. I'm really not. I haven't seen him in a real true fight yet. You know what I'm saying? I think what's his name's a better technician. Um, Tank Davis, here's his problem. It's the same problem with Canelo. There's, in my opinion, there's so many parallels that he has with Canelo Alvarez, but he's a guy that tries to focus too much on one shot. And if you're active, And if you're able to box him and things like that, he loses a lot of rounds just like Canelo does too, and just like a guy like Deontay Wilder. You know what I'm saying? He's not a very active fighter, and that's because he's trying to conserve his energy and things like that. You know what I'm saying? I think what's his name could amass some rounds on him, and he would. Gervonta Davis would have no choice but to knock out Shakur Stevenson. You know what I'm saying? Unless the judges are paid and bought for in his favor, but he just does not have the output and things like that. So I don't know. I would put my money on Shakur Stevenson, but that's just me. I mean, again, I can't give him the nod over Shakur Stevenson. Shakur even has guys like Lomachenko trying to duck him. You know what I'm saying? Um, and again, I would love to see Gervonta Tank Davis versus this version of Lomachenko. You know, but I don't think they want to put him in with a fight like that. So yeah, because the standards have been lowered. A guy like Arturo Gatti is a Hall of Famer. So if you allow a guy like Arturo Gatti as a Hall of Famer, then of course you got to allow a guy like Devin Haney as a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? So he should be a shoe in by today's standards. So yeah, which are watered down. They were going to have a rematch with Pitbull Cruz. You know what I'm saying? You know, people felt like Cruz maybe deserved a little bit more credit in that fight. As far as Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather 2, we'll see if that happens. I'm not going to watch it. Hey, is that picture new that everybody was showing today with his bicep, or was that his old elbow injury? Were people using Photoshop or something? Because he looked the same as he did back in the day when he came out with that elbow injury with the same face and everything. Haney, to me, he's starting to finally mature. I think those lower weights definitely affecting him. Um, he's been sharp, especially in that what's his name fight, Prograis fight. Very sharp. I think the weight is definitely helping him. He's not draining himself anymore, and it's allowing for more better performances. But also, I've noticed that he's matured. He was a guy, Floyd Mayweather. He's going to sweep the first 4 rounds. He's going to take the middle rounds off, and he's going to sweep the championship rounds. Devin Haney, for some reason, tried to fight hard every round, but he's finally matured a little bit. Teofimo Lopez, again, he can get mentally flustered, and then it starts to affect his heart and things like that. If he's getting outboxed, if he's losing rounds, he can definitely become demoralized. So again, I would choose Devin Haney in that fight, but we've seen Devin get caught and things like that, especially towards the end of fights when he starts getting tired and worn out. But that's why I bring up his mental fortitude and how he's starting to mature finally. When these guys, when their money runs out, we'll see. I'm sure Team Haney would love to offer him a fight. We'll see. You know what I'm saying? Tio, again, you're coming off a controversial win. You're gonna have to do something. PBC Top Rank is his own. I think Top Rank still has the best developmental uh, assets for fighters. Um, you look to the past, Bob's worked with everybody. He even worked with Ali. Although he ended up robbing Ali, but still he's robbed everybody. He's robbed Manny Pacquiao, whoever else. But I think his results speak for themselves. He's better at developing fighters, and then they get to a point where they outgrow him, and then they have to move on. So, hands down, it's top ranked for me. Even guys like Oscar De La Hoya, Bob was associated with. I'm sorry, I can't put Inouye as pound for pound number one. Call me biased. I can't do it. Uh, an old man, what's his name? Damaging. You did get him in the rematch, but still. Um, Plus, he's getting to fight a lot of these obscure fighters for belts and everything like that. So, you know, I've seen him take more damage than Crawford and get hurt more. But he's still having dominating performances as well. I don't know, man. Tyson Fury's a different cat. What's funny, the parallels between him and AJ, you both got the fight of Vladimir at the end of his career. Vladimir obviously had more success against Anthony Joshua, but Anthony Joshua was, a very young kid. I think he was, what, 22, 23 when he fought Vladimir? You got to take those things into consideration. But Tyson Fury, again, if he can get motivated and things, and if he can make it the fight, because again, we've seen guys like Usyk kind of outbox Anthony Joshua, things like that. Um, if he can make it his style of fight, it doesn't become a brawl or anything else. And AJ, we've seen him uh, have mental issues at some points in his fights as well. It becomes a boxing match and it's very boring. It depends on what type of Tyson Fury we get. I think, and I mentioned this before in one of my live streams. Tyson Fury, there are blips. We brought up the McDermott fight. That's the guy that knocked down Tyson Fury and I think beat him. And that's why Tyson Fury fought him in a rematch to finally prove to people that that was just a fluke. But we see this happens very often with Tyson Fury. But a guy like AJ, I think he'd be ready to show up and show out against. And again, I think he could get the nod unless he gets caught by AJ. But AJ's at the point of his career. Yeah, we saw what he did to an MMA fighter, but even when he fought guys like Parker, he gets timid and tries to do things like outbox guys when the old AJ would just bum rush and knock people out. But Tyson Fury's skilled enough, I think he can avoid getting knocked out by AJ and make it a boxing match. Yeah, it's more mental than it is physical, man. It really is. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I would say it's 90% mental and 10% physical, you know. I don't know what Tio's on, man. He's on some stuff that's worse than Ryan Garcia, you know. He was mentioning how he did ayahuasca retreats. I don't know if you guys do research into that type of stuff, but he's been on some far out stuff. You know what I'm saying? Many people who do those ayahuasca retreats, they claim that they see demons and things like that. So just to give you FYI, and he's over here already as a young man doing that type of stuff. That's crazy. So you know, I don't think they did ayahuasca retreats. I'll tell you that much. They may have done some coke, and got with some hookers, but Sugar Ray Leonard used to do coke. These dudes today, they do some crazy stuff today. Even the weed today is crazy, man. The THC levels are like ridiculously high. So these people, fentanyl kills people, and they're gonna probably knock me on this for talking about this on, but it's like the drugs are only getting crazier today. You know what I'm saying? How would Rolly do in the '80s? He'd be a cowboy. You know what I'm saying? Like he would be able to do nothing in the '80s. He can barely do anything today. He just has a nice personality that people find entertaining, and he's basically a clown. You understand? That's Rolly's best attribute going for him. Mike Tyson fight again. What's sad is it's going to do better than a lot of fights that you would try to make in boxing today. That's just the sad reality that we're in boxing today. So we already saw Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson. That was a lot more successful than a lot of fights, and I'm pretty sure that fight's gonna do decent. You know what I'm saying? Who's Wilder fighting? Did I have discipline? I made a lot of mistakes. You understand, but none of those mistakes led to me having a bad uh, record. You know what I'm saying? But I did do a lot of dumb stuff. Okay. I used to go out and party and do crap like that. So I had never done nothing crazy enough to where, it led to me having to turn to other means. So I ended up joining the military. It wasn't about discipline. I guess it was more so about the fact that, you know, I still qualified to join, you know. I think it also has to do with upbringing. A lot of kids, they have trouble with people yelling at them and telling them what to do. Um, you know, I kind of remember that when I was there, and it was nothing because I grew up in a tough household. So that stuff didn't affect me. It didn't mentally affect me. So that could be a part of it as well. My daddy used to, discipline us. So I'll just say that. So yeah, I'm not mad at you for thinking that Bill can win off points. I stated earlier in the stream he has the best style to beat Peter there. Why should he? He's got paid his money, and he wants to get pregnant and things like that. So once you start hitting those levels, is boxing really a priority? And you can say the same for guys like Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, a lot of guys from, the PBC stable. But again, Wilder, he's like 37, 38 now. Should it be his priority right now, especially after your last couple of performances? Well, I mean, like your last three or four performances, Fury put a beating on him in that second fight and third fight. So blood was even coming out of his eardrums, and again, you're losing to guys like Parker and everybody else. Boxing maybe shouldn't be your priority unless you want a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're almost 40 years old at this point. I got Marvin Hagler. He was a far more talented fighter than Bernard Hopkins, and Bernard's one of my favorite fighters. I always loved how Bernard used to try to always defy the odds, and he did on a lot of attempts. You know what I'm saying? He had some shortcomings as well, and trust me, B-Hop was my guy. I was mad like the first Jermaine Taylor fight. I thought he won. He should have got the nod. You know what I'm saying? I think they definitely robbed him that fight. And the Calzaghe fight as well, I'm sorry, that's going to throw people off. But if you actually score that fight on boxing criteria, he bagged a lot of the early rounds. You know what I'm saying? Again, they gave Calzaghe credit for that output nonsense. So again, but I definitely have Marvin Hagler. The man, he just has intangibles that Bernard Hopkins doesn't. You know what I'm saying? I was talking about Hearns versus Marvin Hagler. I was kind of shocked when he came out on Hearns the way he did, coming with this lunging like left hook. You understand, covered a lot of distance, and just the way he went in there and tore Hearns apart, man. And to the point where Hearns even broke his hand on his head, and he still went through that type of stuff. I definitely have Marvin Hagler. He's eating Bernard Hopkins up. You know what I'm saying? Like, unfortunately, and D Hop's one of my favorites. We've been on for about 70 minutes, guys. I'm probably gonna stay on for maybe another 10, and I'm gonna get off here in a minute. If you guys got anything, let me know. And we'll probably maybe do a live tomorrow. Maybe, you know. All right, man. Have a good night. Depending on things, could do another live tonight. Hopefully, there's real stuff to talk about as far as boxing matchups. No, Shakur's in a very hard spot right now. He's in purgatory. He's too good, and a lot of people they know it's a lose-lose situation if they fight him. So he's going to be in purgatory for a minute. It's going to be very hard for him to get his career to catapult. You understand? If they do fight, it'll probably be when they're both a little older. You know what I'm saying? Maybe around 30 years of age. But as of right now, good night, man. As of right now, man, he's just in a tough spot. There's not much he can really do at this point. Everybody gets to say that he's boring and whatever else excuse. So he's in a very tough spot right now. Well, you guys, you have a good night. And like I said, we'll probably be back on tomorrow. We can talk about more. Is that the guy that's like Prince Nassim Hamed? Is that who you're talking about? I gotta watch him. I haven't watched this fight. You know what I'm saying? I gotta do research on a lot of these new cats today. But I'm gonna go ahead and get off, guys. You guys have a good night. And like I said, we'll definitely. I haven't watched his fights, bro. So I gotta do more research on him. I was a Prince Nassim fan back in the day, so for sure, I know that people hated him, but that was a guy. He made boxing very fun to watch and be a part of. We'll just see. And like I said, I need to actually do more research on him. But you guys have a good night, and I will talk to you tomorrow. I'll probably be on live tomorrow. Bye.